Hello, friends, and welcome to another session of English literature. So, friends, today's topic of discussion is absurd literature, or we can also call it theater of the absurd and absurdity in literature. Okay. So, friends, this video is quite important. Watch the video till the end. Friends, the theater of the absurd is called as a short literary movement which started from 1950s and ends in 1980s. Okay. Actually, absurd literature is a genre of narrative fiction which focuses on the experiences of characters, of peoples who are basically purposeless or goalless, and they are unable to find firm and intrinsic purpose in life, and thus they are represented by the writers through meaningless actions and events. Generally, absurd means weird, odd, unreasonable, facetious, ridiculous, or we can say absurd means things or actions that doesn't make any sense. Absurd also means inharmonious. Okay. So when absurd, the term absurd applied to literature, then it signifies the works which are ridiculous, meaningless, and out of joint. Means jointless. Okay. So absurd literatures are quite weird, and it also deals with the purposeless aspects of human life. So after the devastating Second World War, the term absurd or absurdism came into light. That's why it is also said that absurdism is a 20th century concept. Thus, we can say that the absurd literature or absurdism is a human tendency to seek a meaning and purpose in life and the inability to do so. Actually, there is also a long history behind the meaninglessness, the purposelessness of human life. Actually, prior to the World War II means before the Second World War or before the First World War also, humans conducted their lives according to the ethical rules. They believed that everything occurred for good and according to God's will. Okay, so basically humans were the stern believer of God, and this belief was transmitted from generations after generations. And the belief was that as a human being, we have to live in harmony, we have to live together, and that's the sense of unity, the sense of brotherhood was prevailed throughout the human mind. Okay, but this good notion of living life was soon changed after people witnessed the devastating Second World War. Because in that bloody battle, people witnessed that how men kill their fellow men. Okay. And the succeeding devastating situations like the bloody massacres, the mass bombings, disease, hunger, starvation, and other horrible incidents during the war nurtured the absurd feeling in the mind of the human beings. Okay. And from this experience of the world, there comes the theater of the absurd, and there begins the absurdity in literature. But there is also one thing that we have to remember, which is though the literature of the absurd or the absurdity in literature, or we can say the theater of the absurd, was introduced as well as popularized after the Second World War, but it has also its roots in the ancient world or in the ancient Greek, we can say. Okay, so after the devastating Second World War, it was no longer possible to keep using the traditional art forms in theater. The term theater of the absurd was coined by Martin Eastlin in his book The Theater of the Absurd. So this is quite important, okay? In this context, we have to remember another important thing, which is in 1912, Albert Camus first introduced the term absurd in his essay called The Myth of the Sisyphe. And thus the playwrights began to introduce the absurdity or the theme of absurd in theaters. Okay. The theater of the absurd is also called as an anti-drama because it rebels against the conventions of the traditional forms of drama. Types of dramas are called anti-drama, anti-character play, anti-plot play. Okay. And they have the features like the crisis and the cruelty of human life, of human being, dissimulation of the society, the isolation of people, the meaninglessness of the existence of human beings, etc. So, briefly, in a word, we can say that in the gallery of literature, or in the world of literature, the literary pieces like novels, short stories, the fictional narratives, and obviously the plays or dramas which deals with the characters' purposeless aspect in life, their aimless wandering which brings the conflict with the universe, are called absurd literature. Okay. Now take a look on the major writers of absurd literature and major absurdist plays, absurdist poetries, absurdist fictions. Okay.